My team tried to stop me making this video because for the first time ever, we are giving away the full system that we use with our clients at Madre to generate millions in the aftermarket. In this video, I'm not only going to show you what's behind the curtains of Madre, but I'm also going to show you how you can implement it to generate your own revenue inside the aftermarket. The content system that we have created here at Madre is called the V8 Growth System, and it is a system that creates social media posts consistently every single month. So if you're looking to generate revenue through social media, then this is the video for you. The first thing that we do whenever we take on any kind of client is a V8 strategy session. Now, we have detailed a marketing plan that runs you through the fundamentals of that V8 strategy session here. Once you have your customer personas detailed, we then move on to our content pillars. Now, the content pillars are the foundations of the V8 strategy because not only do they present us with guardrails, but they also allow us to repeatedly talk about the same topics again and again so the algorithm knows exactly who we're talking to and what we're talking about. When you create your content pillars, you're going to select 4 different topics. Now, this could be industry insight, this could be your product or service, or this could be general wider topics. For example, if I wanted to talk about general vehicle repair, I then want to talk about ADA, I then want to talk about SERMI or block exemption, what's happening in that space, and then updates. Now, these updates could be around consumers, they could be around mechanics. Whatever you believe is relevant to your product is how you want to frame these content pillars. Once we have our content pillars all laid out, we then go through what's called V8 topics. Now, V8 topics is essentially what's going to give you that content constantly coming in so that you're not running out of ideas. The worst thing that can happen in any content system is what do I talk about next? So we're going to use V8 topics to research what we're actually talking about. Now, V8 topics is our proprietary framework on how we come up with ideas, but I'm going to lay out exactly how we use it. The first thing that we do is look at keyword research. Now, what's important with any organic content is that it can be searched. We need to know that there's demand for what we're talking about. So keyword research is really going to help us here. From there, we move into forums. This could be Reddit, Quora, Facebook groups, communities. We're then going to look inside those groups and platforms and look at what questions are they asking, what topics are they talking about that fits with our content pillars, and also what are the answers. Now, with those answers, we're going to see whether or not we have a contrarian opinion. So do we disagree or agree with the answer that has been given here? The way that I like to think about this is, can I Google this and get the answer that I'm about to give to the customer or to the viewer? If it's something that can't be Googled, then that's definitely something we're going to prioritize in terms of content. The next thing that we do with the V8 topics is something that I will tell you later on. Now that we have our topic, the next thing that we're going to move into is what's called a brain extraction session. Now, a brain extraction session is essentially where we're going to get our unique company viewpoints for our content. The worst thing that you can do with a content system is stop at V8 topics, put it into ChatGPT, and pray that it comes up with something that isn't cringy, cheesy, or shit. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into a Teams or Google Meet and we're going to ask the questions that we found in the V8 topic research. We're then going to add a note taker or a human that takes notes if you have one of them, and then they're going to actually type down what your answer is. What's really important inside these brain extraction sessions is that it's your opinion and your point of view. What we want to create with our content is essentially teaching our perspective. And the reason for this is that now people search online more than they talk to a sales rep. So we kind of want to do the conditioning of our opinions and our methodologies before they speak to a competitor. Because when they speak to that competitor and it doesn't match up to what we have taught them in the content and what they now believe, then they're not going to be able to pursue that solution and instead turn to us. Now that we have our topics and we also have the content that we're going to create and the opinions that we're going to create it on, we then move on to what we call long form content. Now, long form content can be a long YouTube video or a blog post. In the V8 Growth System specifically, we create long form YouTube videos. And the reason for this is that consistent YouTube posting has been the single biggest revenue generator for our clients in the aftermarket. So this is not a platform that you can sleep on. This is something that you need to pursue, and then we'll dribble down to the rest of the system. When we're creating our YouTube content, content, we first need to actually think of the topics and the answer that is going to be at the end. For example, if I want to intrigue them with a hook, I first need to not just put the keyword research question, but I need to put the outcome of what that answer is going to be and tease that later in the video. When we're creating YouTube content, we want to answer genuine sales questions, but in that social context. So this is important to make sure that the wrapping kind of ties to that. What we want to look at with our long form YouTube content is your packaging, which is your thumbnail and your title, as well as that initial hook. From there, you create the meat of the video, and we've gone into the exact anatomy in this video here. Once we've created our long form YouTube content, we then move into short form video. Now, short form video is the single biggest way to get the most eyeballs on your business and is the most engaging. So what we used to do here was actually repurpose the long form. So we chop up the long form content with tiny pieces that we thought were relevant or gems. We no longer do this. Now we specifically script our short form videos so that they actually uphold the long form content or are a completely different topic. The reason for this is that short form content has now matured past the point of being able to repurpose the content well. Instead, create content that is of genuine value, gives the answer straight in the short form video, and if you like, can uphold the long form video but doesn't need to come from it. If you want to get started with short form content, an easy way that we've seen actually work is that you can simply tilt your body and talk as if you're talking to a person and make it look as though you're answering a sales question. This can allow you to read the script, read the person, and also have the cues of what you're going to be talking about. Much easier to become natural on camera. Although this isn't a format that you want to use constantly and you'd want to move out to better ones, what we have found is that when you are positioned sideways, the hook is that, oh, I want to be in that conversation. So what this format does is tailor to the main points of short form content, which is a visual hook, the hook itself, and the content. You can do all of this just by placing your body to the side. Once we have our short form content down and nailed, we then move on to static content. Now, static content is your typical social media posts, and this is where you actually get the most conversions and engagement. Video does amazingly for teaching and engaging the customer, but social is where we can actually get them to raise their hand. So when it comes to your social media content, the main thing that you're going to want to do is write it. And I know this is a contrarian thought now that we have ChatGPT, but every post that we publish at Madre, having tested both AI and human written has always outperformed. Now, when it comes to your static content, you want to story tell when it comes to the pain point of the customer. So for example, you're going to set up a story that opens up exactly how they're feeling, which is why the customer personas are so important. When we story tell and we open up to a reality that they're probably facing, they're more engaged with the post and more likely to read. Following on from that, we're then going to put the outcome as your solution. So we do have a full video on exactly how to write a social media post, but the main bit is that you're going to want to story tell and link it with a natural photo. What we don't want is heavy graphics here. Instead, it should come across snappy, more native, and looks like it actually belongs on the feed. This typically isn't super polished and instead can be done with your phone. Now, once we have our long form, short form, and static posts, we then want to do two things in order to tweak these and make them perform better. The first thing that we're going to do is implement distribution posts. Now, what most people get wrong and where we've seen the most success is when we connect all of this content not only to itself, but then to wider marketing goals. A distribution post is where you are actively asking the customer to go somewhere else. For example, if I have just created a video like this Mercedes one here, and I want people to move to that video, I will then create a post on Facebook, which is one of our most engaged platforms, that says comment Mercedes in order to get the link to the video. Using our V8 CRM, the CRM will then automatically send them a link to that video. Not only does this boost the algorithm here, but it also boosts the post here because we're getting so much engagement. So distribution posts have been a real outlier in this strategy to really connect everything. The second way that you can use those distribution posts, as I mentioned, is to move them to your wider marketing campaigns. So if you have a landing page or a lead magnet, which is essentially an exchange of value for an email address, you can then send them to this resource with a distribution post. The second tweak that we're going to do with these three content pieces is then community insights. And this is the third part of our V8 topics. Whenever we publish a YouTube video, a short form, or a piece of content, we're most likely going to get comments or questions on that piece of content. What we then do, if we find them of value, we will move them into our V8 topics and then answer them through a piece of content. We will then tell the person that commented that we have created that piece of content, and our community can then see that we are actively engaging with them. And if they put a suggestion, we will then answer through content. Making this loop not only drives a community to actually engage with us, but it allows us to answer questions that are typically more recent or more sales driven. Once you've successfully implemented this system, we have recently added on a brand new part to the V8 growth system, which is called communities. Through our V8 CRM, we can create communities where we specifically invite people to engage inside our own social media platform. This allows you to not only have sales conversations inside something you control, but it also means that your wider community can talk with inside your community platform to advocate for you, to answer questions, and to drive your values forward without you even being there. Once you've created this content system and you're consistently posting content, the only way to generate revenue is a back-end funnel. Now, we have detailed exactly how to create this funnel in this video here.